Addiction thinks in circles, whereas invention thinks in spirals.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes,
I
yes.
love it. And spiral is not one dot, it's actually one seed becoming bigger and bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So I'm grateful for that. And then two, just the pain just reminding me like this body is so amazing.
Where else can you go
Hmm.
other than inside? And
Hmm.
when you're so almost like forced to face yourself, you find lots of love. Okay.
18.
Yeah. This was hard for me.
This was interesting for me. Judgment, integrity, perfection. Which part was hard for you, just to be?
Um, it was hard because it was boring somehow.
Okay.
I was almost like uninterested to learn about this. And this is the first one that for some reason I just was like, nah, I can go without understanding it.
Yeah.
And it's the first feeling that I had for first key ever since we started. But it's almost so intellectual, right? It's so mental
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
feels very much, oh, boring. A book that I would honestly just buy and not read.
Yeah. It's not your wheelhouse.
It was
Uh,
interesting, and I was like, I'm bored out of my mind. I need to take a break right now and take a nap. So I took a nap right after I read it. How are you feeling about it?
this was I'm a very mental individual. So, and hearing about the stages of life, the 7 year periods in the development and how judgment shows up in that third period and how it's like very vital for your parents to set clear boundaries and have some integrity for who they are and position themselves in that way. I'm like, it was eye-opening to me. It makes sense, but it was like something I never considered to that degree.
As a
Like
parent or as a child?
as a child and then as an adult, because
Mm.
because I got stuck in that place of trying to what really resonated was the reactive nature, the superiority. It was
Mm.
like it's such an ugly thing to remember. And we were talking before we recorded about even months ago how we felt like different people, but to go back to like teenage years, it's like this is a person that lived on the other side of the planet.
Mm.
Um, but he was highly superior and but also like he would he would hide it and like
And you're talking
conceal
about
it.
you?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
in
easy
what
for me to
in, in what stage?
in the
The
teenage
third?
years, 14 to
Oh,
21.
oh, I see, I see. Okay, go ahead, go ahead. I'm curious now.
Yeah. So it was like I think I was very rebellious naturally and mostly had to hang around my mom, and she didn't really have the integrity to stand up for much of anything. She was just in a survival state. Um,
Mm.
so that led me to like, okay, I don't trust any authority because there's nothing to back it. Like everyone's full of shit. And I would just pick people apart, but I would do it silently. I would do it in my head.
Mm.
So I could be like agreeable or like most people saw me as like being a nice person and um sweet and kind-hearted and respectful. But then, if I get behind closed doors or with my close friends or even with my family, I'd be like I would just take them apart. like very,
Mm,
very judgmental, critical, calculated. So this was interesting for me from that regard, but I can see why this would be boring for you. That makes
mm.
sense.
Wow. I mean, don't hold me just for the word that I said. And I shall stand corrected. But I'm curious. So I'm curious. You mentioned we're talking about the two reactive and repressive natures of it. So two questions arose while you were talking. You're listening. I was listening. Does part of you from 14 to 21 still lives today and reacts today?
Yes.
And if you can, I mean, it's unmeasurable, but the difference between you then and you now, you're now aware of the nature of the 21 superiority. Is it running the show in your real life right now?
No, I'd have to like you ask me about it and I inquire and it's like, yeah, there's a part that exists, but it's very quiet.
So it's running internally the show of, hmm. I want to know, is this the daredevil that it's coming up usually when we talk and you want to play the devil's advocate?
Oh, is
You
that what
know?
it yeah, yeah, that might be a part of this.
Mm,
Like just challenging everything. Challenge, challenge, challenge.
mm. So you feel it's still alive here and there. It breathes to this day.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in that context of playing devil's advocate, when it does come up and I acknowledge it, like, well, let me play devil's advocate here when asking a question. I do get like a little bit of a high out of it.
Uh-huh.
Like, can I get you to, but it doesn't come with the flavor that it had when I was a teenager, which was like hatred, which was like, it was ugly. It was like really disgusted by the world and sad. And now it comes up and it's more like, let me see what is behind it,
Mm,
or offer just a lens for someone else to possibly see.
mm,
But when we've talked and that's come up in the past and you kind of allowed it to play out, and then later on in our talk, looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I was pretty bullheaded and trying to find like a hook to put in. And then I could see how that would then give my ego mind like a sense of superiority. Like I was able to get one up on Melissa in our talk.
mm. But I love that. And you know why? What this made me realize is that we all operate from these states that are disassociated from us. So this is the part that I'm learning in the school too. It's like, oh, yes, it's part of us. It's inner child. It's actually a defensor or a defender or the protector that just pops up. But I almost see it as the in isolation. And
Hmm.
as I learn about it, I'm like, oh, I actually actively have to embody this part as part of me because it's not there. So, for example, it's interesting that he talks as the three different cycles. So, first 7 years, the second 7 years, and the fourth 7 years, and all these repeating caregivers mistakes, meaning you as a child have a needs and you attach to one of the parents. It doesn't matter good or bad, you attach. We have, in order for us to survive, we have to attach to whoever gives us more attention. And if the child is neglected or it's not listened to or it's not taken care of or nurtured or it has a needs, emotional, food needs, it doesn't understand all of this, it's seeking the parent. And if the parent comes back and doesn't really offer the attention or the care or the nurturing, it stores itself somehow. And the child will do anything to receive, to survive, to receive another way attention. It cries, it throws tantrums, right? So it's almost like the psychology of it is very much survival for attention. And he wants to attach. And if it doesn't get that feedback, then it starts creating all this fake selves, and these fake selves now stay in the same exact timeline as you grow old and you move 30 years later. this is actually playing in the background because it's totally disassociated from you. So the practice that we're doing, and interesting that it just popped up in my mind, by the way. I
Yeah.
just did the inner child, oh gosh, what's it called? The inner child, literally, you have two pillows. You're entering as yourself, adult self, and you're finding, let's say, your goal. What do you want to accomplish in life? And between you and that goal, there's resistance that pops up. And that resistance is these little many parts that are disassociated. So we call them out and we literally create them as an entity. We sit them across us and we talk to it. And then you literally enter and you embody it. And you are now that child or that
Mhm.
self who is seeking this protection. And it's asking, hey, you don't protect me. You don't pay attention to me. I always have to stand up and fight for what I want to say. I'm very aggressive. I feel very isolated here. And it speaks on its own. And then you separate from it and you look at it. And then you're trying to literally come back to it by hugging it, embodying it, and saying, hey, you daredevil, I see you, but you don't have to run the show anymore. So now
Yeah.
you're giving it a different role for it. And this entire process, and I've done it many times, I from my personal experience, and I thought I don't even have, and it's parts of me that are running the show. Oh, there are many. There are many, and they pop up randomly like this. And
Yeah.
then you associate them back and you put them in the, I don't know, the throne of the heart, for example. You give them the seat, you ask them where they want to sit and what they want, what's their purpose. Sits on the shoulder, sits on the top of the head, on the tip of the tongue. It wants the role. It wants to live with you in the real life. So this reminded me a lot on, oh my God. So kids in these three cycles are seeking parents' attention. And it's up to the parent to figure that part out and lives in their integrity in order to give this to a child. And then it goes the cycle. If they fail in the first cycle, it repeats itself in the second cycle. If they fail in the second cycle, it repeats itself in the third last cycle, 7 to 14. And then if the parent doesn't know how to integrate that part of the child, then it carries over through entire mature life.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my God, all parents fuck up.
Yeah.
So you as a parent, do you see how you as a parent can fuck this up completely? Or do you feel, how do you actually come out of it to understand that your children have this need and that you want to make sure that you give them what they're looking for and actually pay attention to the repeating cycles throughout the entire 21-year of their life? How does
Yeah.
that work from your point of view?
Well, luckily I'm still early into it because our oldest is turning 5 next month. So technically we're only in the first phase for all three of them. So it's what is in the first phase is emotional or
I think it's body and then emotions.
physical, yeah. So that's relatively straightforward, but yeah, I can definitely see how that can be messed up. Um, so I think physicality, like safety, is a big one. Um,
Food, sleep.
yeah, basic necessities, food, sleep,
What
maybe
about the touch?
structure, touch,
Mm.
intimacy, affection. Um, yeah, and touch is like a whole realm, right? So it's like what kind of touch?
Mm.
And what is the touch associated with? Is it
What
associated
do you
with
mean?
is it associated with punishment or is it associated with appreciation? Is it associated with a good job? You know, like that can fuck up a kid, like when you only give a loving hug when they do something that you approve of. You're
Oh,
teaching them,
wow.
right? You're teaching them I'm only loved when I perform for others. So yeah, it's a complex web of choices that they're making and then I have to be cognizant of. And so far it's definitely been challenging. But the phase 2 and 3 are gonna be, yeah, it'll be a whirlwind. I'm
I
excited
mean,
for it.
it's worth mentioning that you guys have three children that are almost the same age with 1 year in between, right? Or two.
Yeah, 1.5-ish.
I mean, isn't that kind of almost the same developmental stage, just times three?
It's funny how much like when we're learning something, like you're doing this course or we're doing Jinkies or we're just working on ourselves. Like you and I are people that take time to actively try to improve ourselves and get better and whatever that means, or just learn
Mm-hmm.
and try to soften or become more sensitive or more aware. I guess awareness is a good term to use. I think in general, we both aim to have more awareness in life. So, as a parallel, kids are learning rapidly and their bodies are changing even more rapidly. So, the level of development between Jace, who just turned 3, and Koa, who's a year and a half, is crazy. It's just insanely different. So it definitely
Wow.
feels like two completely different stages
Wow.
um, in that sense. But
You mean, but in the way that they're learning, like they're learning about the world?
yeah, like Luca is learning, like they might hang out together, but when the activities shift, it's like the two older boys can throw their shoes on really quick and go scooter outside or ride their bikes, and then the younger one is like trying to get this shoe on and it's upside down and his pants are halfway down his ankles. Or
So cute.
they might transition to a writing activity and Luca's like, he asked me a question, Daddy, how do you draw a plane? And I'm like, okay, you do this and do this. And then Jace is over there and he's like, I drew a snake and it's just squiggles, and he's the middle
Wow.
child. So depending on the activity, or if it's reading, or if it's
Mm,
listening to a story, or I mean, it's just, yeah,
mm.
it's crazy how different it can be for each of them.
You know how in Gene Keys, Richard says that 2027 genetic
Yeah.
code will change, and one of these A, B, C, 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 D, E, E will become a T, and it will totally change the DNA.
Hmm.
And in the morphogenesis book, what it says, it's a totally different terminology, but I'll just pull up a couple of them. 97%, like you can, it's questionable. Okay, so I don't know, is it scientifically proven or not, but I'm just putting it as the extra information, which is 97% of our DNA is useless, meaning it's not functional, but we don't really know how to turn it on. It's offline and it's running in the background. 97%. And it speaks on how genes or DNA already has the sequences and codes that are actually different from all the way up to now. So your children, for example, would have a different DNA coding, and that one little enzyme or whatever part of the DNA sequence can change drastically the entire generation afterwards. So it's really interesting. Just I mean, you're lucky you have them to just observe the difference between that generation and you.
Yeah.
Even Gen Zs, like the young adults now.
Yeah. Yeah. The changes are wild. And yeah, the genetic memory thing, like that 97% is unused is the term, or like, yeah,
It does not
dormant.
function.
It's like
Dormant.
dormant. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've read that. And then Richard talks about essentially the work that we're doing is purifying the memory, the genetic memory that we have. So each of us has the genetic memory of every living being that lived before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then in thinking about that, like when we are so proud to say like, well, I'm going to heal my generational trauma, and it's like, okay, well, you have to go back to like primates, and you have to go back to like reptilians, and like that encoding is just in us of survival, fucking, killing, food, and it's like millions of years of that. So, you know, the term devil's advocate comes up again, like maybe some of the work that we could be doing is kind of just letting the process unfold on its own instead of taking like this ownership and saying like, look how good I'm doing. It comes back to like, what are we doing it for, right?
Mm. I love how you segued. And the highlighted here is, would I rather be right or be happy? Can I just add 2 cents to it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's just think differently. Meaning, if we have all these genes that are coming from who knows when, that we're encoding and we don't really know, they're offline, they're non-functional, we can't even turn them on because we're so deeply into this physical world and fear and all these like shadows that we're working on. But what if the old just have to fall off in order for new to come? And the only way for new to come is for us to actually think from a totally different perspective rather than excavating the past and traumas and digging out all this programs. How and when do we actually take time to dream, imagine, create, get inspired, and literally elevate to a very different levels of unknown?
Mm-hmm.
Hence to what we were talking about earlier. When we started this, we did not know what is it going to be, but we actually devoted our time every Sunday to do this, and we came back to it not knowing what is going to come out of it. With that, to me, means that we created a shift into maybe this enzyme who became a little bit longer, and by default it creates its own custom made gene key or code or a particle that will change ourselves generally. So rather than focusing, and when it becomes totally ABC and it becomes E in the DNA coding ring, something old has to fall off without us even trying really to go back to it. Like, who's going to go back? You're right, to go and excavate all these traumas. I can't. We said this in the beginning of it. I stand in line. I can't fix all of it. There's no way. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't think I came here to fix all my traumas, but how about I don't any longer? And how about I move on and I create brand new way of thinking, brand new inspiration, brand new art, brand new music, brand new structures that work for me. And I go based on what? Based on I want to be right and scientifically proven because I'm going to operate based on what I know so far? Or am I going to come up with something so abruptly, so outrageously different?
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And this made me think of the first gene key, which is entropy, freshness, and beauty. And the entropy is like the uncontrolled aspect of nature, like, and I think it relates to, let me go back. Why not? Why not include the other ones?
I mean, interesting. This is like 6 months backwards. And
Yeah.
now we.
Oh my gosh, of course. Just kind of randomly looked. This is the sentence I saw. The gift of freshness relies on one immortal truth. Creativity can never be controlled.
How do you come to the creative states of yours? How do you become a creation of something? How do you do that? Did you ever contemplate on that?
Yeah, if I think about, so I used to write quite a bit. The best way for me to get into that flow was to do an exercise called stream of thought, where I'm just writing whatever thought is coming through, and then eventually it like kind of develops, whether it was poetry or writing a story, or it would just kind of come out of that. So to me, and this is based on some of my recent experience with meditation as well, it comes from allowing yourself to dissolve, or whatever word you want to use, and just placing your awareness in the untapped potential, the void, like the blackness, the energy of space, the energy that's not a part of your senses. So like tapping out of your senses, and it can happen through dance too. Like you think it's like a very sensible, meaning like you're using touch and you're using your body in a way, but often people that are creating, when they're doing some form of art, like I can think of a few quotes where they'll say something like, it wasn't really me doing it, or I was only kind of witnessing it happen.
Mm. But this is like a channel, like a pure download. But how do I know I'm doing that thing, that right thing as a part of me? That like self pearl essence that really wants to come through the creation of it. How do you know? Like, just to simplify it, like lately, and this is in the last maybe 2 months, I am noticing where I'm excited and where I have this like enthusiasm and where I'm not. It's a
Yeah.
clear distinction between, ooh, I'm actually excited about this. And as I'm excited, I'm almost entering through this door in this chamber of everything can come in. No expectations. It's complete tabula rasa, and things do come. The ideas pop up, and I put them in a sticky notes, literally. And I'm like, okay, where's this coming from? I'm so excited. I'm so full of this enthusiasm. And when I'm doing something that I really, really, it's almost like it's not connected to me, the enthusiasm is gone.
Yeah.
I'm not even excited about it. I'm like, ugh, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Right? It's like black. So is this how it can be differentiated as there's this like elevated, powerful energy that comes and
Yeah.
flows through you when you get so excited about something. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and it's to me, you're pointing to emotions, energy in motion. Like excitement is an emotion. Um, Energy in motion, it's moving through you. So
oh,
you're
in motion.
energy in motion, emotion.
Ah, I see. But rather than sensation in the body. But yeah, I mean, I almost
Well,
feel
I
it.
can they be can they coincide, typically emotions and sensations.
Yeah, it's something physically distinguishing, right? So I can distinguish the difference between having it and not having it. And
Hmm.
it's very clear. And maybe that's why we're using the bodies, because we need the senses to kind of figure out what's happening at any given time, right? So it's just in my case, and I'm like, oh my God, the best ideas that I don't even am conscious about come from being led by, oh, I'm actually excited about it. Intuitive interest about something that excites me
Yeah.
rather than a must do's. So it comes back to, would I rather be right and full of structure, or I know how to do this very well logically, or would I rather be happy, which often comes with, let's explore, let's ruin all the, let's just question all the rules just for the play of it, or just for the fun.
Hmm.
And maybe ideas will pop up.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm feeling motivated to get this out because I've had the same experience in the last, you said 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like the boredom is like familiar. I think the level of boredom that you're talking about, but like when that spark comes in and you're just like, what is this? Even so, for an example, we have a friend that was going to move here and we were trying to set her up at our house. So we kind of arranged it and we were going to buy a shed and kind of deck it out for her and set it up so that she could live. And then one of our friends came over and he was going to help me put the shed up and put a foundation down, all this stuff. And we kind of were mentioning it briefly, and I think Carly joked. She's like, or she could stay at your place. And he's like, yeah, actually. And all of a sudden I felt like we all kind of felt like this energy, like, whoa, this could work out. Because at first we were kind of forcing it. And I don't think it would have worked out perfectly. There would have been some issues or some difficulties. And all of a sudden we had like three people that were on board and kind of like communicating at a level that we didn't really have to say it. We just kind of knew. And then
Wow.
when we are talking, we're just kind of confirming like, yeah, that would be cool. Let's see if we can make it happen. Um, that's an example. And I don't know if it's not like true creativity. It's not like I'm creating something, but it's like in a moment, my body recognizes like this opportunity wasn't something that I came up with, but it is something that resonates. And then just checking my environment and being like, okay, it's resonating with them. Now let's move this forward.
So cool.
Yeah,
Imagine if we operated off of that rather than judgmental structures that we know. I mean, judgment is just part of all the knowing and that we rely on often. But imagine if we were just to operate based on that inspiration and impulse that comes in, and it gives you that wave of ooh, ooh, it's like, oh, this is so good. Give me a moment.
I love imagining that. That's often what I do in my meditations is like just trying to tap into the feeling that you're talking about and
Mhm.
meditating, and then staying in that as long as I can.
Mm.
And then the thoughts will come in. But essentially, you're just like training your body, you're training your mind to allow your body to show up and to listen to your body instead of letting the mind run the show.
Yeah. And while you're listening to the body is like able to recognize it, your awareness, you're conscious about it, you're receiving what you have no idea what you're going to receive. And the
Exactly.
randomness and the unknown and the unpredictability of it, it can sit in silence for days and then just pop up as total download of something completed or just the beginning of something. So it's like, damn, I operate. Like the machinery is like massively intelligent. It's
Yeah.
almost feels like whose intelligence is this?
Right.
But it's yours.
Yeah, if you want to claim it.
Why wouldn't you? Came to your mind.
It's kind of just semantics. It's like you could claim it, or you could, like, a word that I like to use with it is kind of like flow. I'm learning to use flow because at first it was like triggering for me. I think because I'm so judgmental naturally.
Mm.
Um, I'm like, what's up with all these people saying they're in the flow, or they're gonna do it based on whether it's in their flow or not. I'm like, I was like so mad about it.
Was this recent?
Oh, I mean, in the last 2 years. So we
Oh.
moved to Hawaii, and um we live in an area in Hawaii where it's kind of spiritually minded, and that term would come up often. Like people would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to go anymore. It's not my flow." And I would get so annoyed. I'm like, "You can't keep your commitments? What the hell's wrong with you?" And just saying it, to myself, or griping to Carly. And now I'm like, okay, I had no compassion for this experience that was unfamiliar to me. Like I didn't know what that
Mm.
was. I just thought it was people being flaky. And maybe
So,
maybe they are in a way, but yeah.
so you are getting. So, how did this come to your awareness? The flow as a notion.
Um, it's so recent. Gosh, when did this? So like the experience came up, I'd say in the last 3 months, and then the word just came up this last week. I'm trying to think of where I read it.
Mm.
I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was like I was reading, and it was like directly for me for this lesson of like you've judged this word, but this word has a profound connection to a state of being that is, and I say no, like your body knows, is the place of ease. I mean, that's what flow is.
Mm.
It's just like my mind being like, it's unsafe to go with the flow. It's unsafe to like allow that state of flow. It's unsafe to trust, to not have a plan, to let go. And this goes back to my core wound and the gene keys, which my core wound is mistrust of the universe, or distrust.
Mm. So your mind let go of a grip out of
Hmm.
blue suddenly.
Yeah, you could say that.
Isn't that so cool?
It is so
That it
cool.
that it actually
I'm so
does it.
grateful.
And there's no reason why I let go of a grip. And
Right.
why last week and why not, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Again, law of randomness. Where side question, where did you, what the key is, the core wound? What, like, name
What's
of,
my key?
not the number, but what is
Oh,
the,
it's the
what's it called?
SQ, EQ, IQ. I think it's EQ.
EQ is
I mean,
emotional. Oh, the inner child. Got it. Okay, yeah.
does that check?
What
Yeah.
has to do with inner
No,
child?
I'd have to get the book because it's like on a chart. It shows up. You can't see that. It shows up under the pearl sequence, so it says vocation. So I don't remember what it is under the Venus sequence.
Oh, so, oh, I see. It's the last, it
It's
comes
the
after the
last
SQ.
one. Hmm.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was like, core wound that turns vocation
Maybe it is the
afterwards.
sphere of core wound. Is that what?
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's why I was like, I got confused. Do you mean astrologically? Since you said you're into astrology lately. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to say we're like levels, but you'd be like a level 9 and I'm like a level 2. So,
Please. It's not true. You think I know what I'm talking about? We established they were full of shit on the last call. So
okay.
full of shit, meaning it's all borrowed information anyway for this time.
Right.
But I really, I've been saying this, and I think I'll regret for saying it this many times, maybe in a year from now, is that all time, it's irreplaceable. You can't, this opportunity, this time with you and me, and this mindset and this feeling and energy and field that we created cannot be ever replaced or replicated again. So to me, it's like, oh my God, time is of essence. If this impulse comes in into this moment, and you have, I love how you address them as they come, and me too. Like if something wants to be expressed, this is the time to express it. It's not
Yeah.
going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be an hour. It shows up, and there's not two things that you can express. Yeah, you can dance and move around, but it's almost like it wants to show up now. It's time, and it will never ever be replaced. So for those who listen, say yes. Don't waste opportunities that come.
Mm,
Otherwise, you'll be a victim.
exactly.
Okay. We didn't touch at all anything related to this shadow judgment, but we kind of did back and
Yeah,
forth.
I was thinking of a good segue
Okay.
to just briefly touch on the shadow is
Complaining.
you're mentioning like you're a victim if what you just said. And it made me think of like all the judgment because like if we have a impulse or a desire to move or say something or create or be spontaneous and we don't, it's often because of self-judgment. And then it relates to how judgment as a whole is ultimately self-judgment because we view ourselves as so separate. So in that victimhood, it places us in I am separate from, which is disconnected from the all or God or source. And then, of course, you can't create when you're in that state. You're
Hmm.
completely disconnected.
Do you think this separateness from God, from all, from essence, is like hard for people to understand at this time as a concept?
It depends on the person. Do you have a like an avatar in mind or just in general?
Just in general, because sometimes I'm also wrapped up. I think it's almost, it might be the way that we use language to describe what this is, because genetically we are separated, meaning we are different, even though we have 97% of it that is together, right? So it's like the conceptual visualization and imagination of separateness from the self is like hard to comprehend. So I contemplated about this, and I was like, how can I feel differently about this that I don't understand or I can't intellectualize? So it's almost like if I had a part of me and I'm small, I'm this little tiny little physical body, but there's this like bigger part of me that has all this intellect. And this bigger part of me holds hands with Eric and Carly and everybody else out there together. And as we hold hands, this is the energy that just permeates together. It's almost like who's going to take which part and which part to share with the small little piece of me here on earth. And rather than, like you being human, having a spiritual experience, it's kind of reverse. You're kind of spirit having this human experience. It's almost like, oh, I can now conceptualize if I just am all above and I just decided to plop into this tiny little body and have this little experience. But I'm constantly talking to my higher self, my higher mind, my higher intellect, my higher whole. It's like I'm constantly having this downloads or information that it's flowing, and I'm just centralizing it in the body. But this chunk of me is actually just a little piece of me compared to the higher self and out there that I'm just spread across the ether. So conceptually, I was able to kind of look at me as I'm just an experience of 90 years here in the tiny little human body. So I just wanted to offer that for people that are having a hard time understanding the difference between separateness, physical separateness, rather than spiritual or energetic separateness, which does not exist at all. It's all one. We all belong to this wholeness energetically, but we're just physically different. And with the physical difference comes different stories and different experiences on the physical body level.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of nuance involved in that discussion. So it's like it depends on at what level someone's ready to receive information regarding it. For instance, like for someone, it might make sense to describe it as three-dimensional or third density and a higher density or a higher dimension. But often there has to be some kind of like information that they've received in the past or that they've read something esoteric, like even like a hint of Blavatsky's work or something that's been passed down through that lineage. And I think like if you're at all into like the spiritual anything, you'll hear some of these phrases like we're entering the fifth dimension, we're ascending to a higher state, and you hear this. And so like I think of Blavatsky's work and the densities and the dimensions as in the third dimension where in this experience we are separate, and that is the reality. And then from a higher density awareness, there's no such thing as separation. So, and there's like steps and there's like levels of kind of like, you could say like the one is the ninth or the highest, where it's like all energy, all information, and there's no such thing as separateness. But just to offer nuance for people, like so that it doesn't, like there's no pressure for you to accept any narrative at any point. It's a matter of what you're ready for and what resonates in your being, and kind of, like you can trust your intuition too, and that's part of it. Like you're not going to be given too much too soon.
Yeah, I think you said this key word, resonates, which reminded me of a resonance. And as there's no ascension to higher enlightenment levels, there's no rush or path to go to. We already are. And it's almost like acceptance of, acceptance of experiences. It's like if we're consciously experiencing every single minute of it, but often we're stuck in the past that we can't control, and we're stuck in the future that it doesn't really exist. Yes, we just talked about we can create something, but we're creating it not in the physical, right? We're creating it with the higher mind rather than the intellectual mind, that it's going to make us worry and give all this like tension and fears of, oh my God, I have to have. When we know that we operate from the intellect, which was the lower shadow that we just went over the other time. The intellect is such a low low shadow rather than the higher intelligence, which is operating from a complete like sense of freedom, acceptance, presence,
Mm-hmm.
possibilities, potential, all this like optimistic, like higher, potent, texturized feelings rather than, oh my God, fear, contractions, oh my God, like fright, fight, and all these levels of intellect that we have to very much protect ourselves from. And we create the judgment to make ourselves feel safer. And we'll just judge and say, we're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'll do my own thing, right? So it's interesting how we don't need to ascend. We just have to be in the moment and be maybe aware of what is happening and able to differentiate what levels are we actually operating. Is it shadow, or is it really contracting, or is it really opening you up? Maybe that's the start, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't know. If our talks contract us, do you think we'll continue doing this? No.
No.
But if we feel expansion and like, opening up, then evolution happens.
Mm-hmm. And to touch on the to be right, would I rather be right or happy? This is like, I remember this came up in my teenage years. Like someone brought it up to me, like it was probably someone in my family, like just let go. And I would say, of course, I'd rather be right than happy. You got to be joking me. It was like not even, I didn't even give it a second. I was like, what a stupid question.
Mm.
So to look back on it now, I just offer it so that it's on record.
Yeah. That you flip the script. And there's one more that I highlighted. I think it's really, really interesting. So it says, you may think it is absolutely human to complain, but it creates a negative frequency in the human aura of both the complainer and the victim.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, the more you complain, the more you damage yourself and the world. I love this
Yeah.
because it's true. It's such a contracting energy of judgment and heaviness. It almost feels dense, like like earth. We can't walk through the earth. Nothing comes through it. It's that heavy. It's like a brick wall that you can't even pass through. And I remember having one of my coworkers, it was a couple of years ago, and she comes from a different culture. So she comes from Filipino culture. And when I went to visit them a couple months ago, I talked to Filipinos. Entire culture, entire Philippines is built on not complaining. These
Mm.
people culturally and energetically do not complain. They do not know how to complain. It is beautiful. Like they have a messed up bathroom at the workplace. I was like, if there is any feedback that you want to provide us, so we can go ahead and, share that we can help you. They're like, there's nothing. It's all optimism. It's all, let's get out of here. Like it's going to be better. No problem. Let's just go on a smoke break and stuff like that. I was like, your bathroom is fucked up. It's like completely inhumane to go and urinate in these conditions. Like it has to change. And they're like, no, it's fine. And I was like, you must be kidding. So I'm talking to them and I'm like, how do you not mind this? And I was like, we don't. And I'm like, is it possible that this culture entirely does not understand the concept of complaining? And they're very happy.
Yeah.
So fast forward in the United States, the Filipino girl that I worked with, she told me once, and it resonated for years later on. It's like, I don't want to complain. I can't complain. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to learn how to do. And she would stop and not at all elaborate on a judgment that she had related to anything. The
Mm.
wars, the life, the money, the poor, being poor, not having anything to eat. It's like no complaining whatsoever. So this is beautiful, beautiful practice to reprogram the nervous system and just simply not mind what is there,
Mm.
what makes us judgmental.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful. It's challenging because um I think from a Western perspective, we take that as like What do you mean? You're just gonna let someone treat you that way, or you're gonna gaslight yourself, or we have a different perspective. And I think some of it can come down to, like you said, the culture. So what's been passed down and how you view life itself. But what's interesting, what I thought of when you were sharing that story was, oh my God, they have a deep trust that everything will work out. So deep that they don't even need to bring up an issue, that it will just kind of work itself out. And I imagine, did that, so you were kind of going there as like an advocate for, in a way.
It was just a work trip, and then we go and we visit our partners and we
Yeah.
see what is that we can help, right, from our corporate perspective. And we usually ask for feedback, and we're trying to fish for stuff, right? So meaning not fish for bad stuff, but more like, okay, what can we make better? Like,
Yeah.
every 3 months something has to move to a better way, improve. And there was absolutely nothing. These people, oh my God, it's like the low pay is not a problem. The conditions that they live in, it's not a problem. They're just happy.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like complaining is like not even a concept in this culture. Hence, when we enter to the body and we embody the culture, and we, with the culture, embody 97% of DNA doesn't work. Ancestral culture, it's like, oh my God, every culture is different. My culture is very stubborn and proud. Like, we're very proud people, and we will stand against the bombs and sing proud, and we would not admit that we're weak. It's like, where is this coming from? It's like, I can
Yeah.
be on the streets, literally homeless. I would not admit that I'm homeless. I would be proud, and I would be like, this is who I am, and I will find a way out. Very like persistent in something, but like them. Americans, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, I have probably a not very popular opinion about America. I think because we're such a new country that we don't really have a culture, that like a foundation like that, like something that has existed through that many generations that we can stand on. And also with all of the immigration over the hundreds of years, it's kind of like it just depends on what area you are in or what city you're in or what microculture exists. That's what I've seen.
True. And what about native Hawaiians, for example?
Ah, some of the happiest people and complex culture. Um, Extremely strong, both physically and emotionally and mentally, but also like can be vulnerable and doesn't not as much pride. Like there's more a sense of like I'll be silly if it makes you laugh or make a fool out of
Mm.
myself. Um, but there's a bumper sticker that I've seen a couple of times, which is aloha doesn't mean weakness. So aloha is like love.
Mm.
Um, but they still have a strength to them, and it's like it doesn't mean you can walk all over us. So and it's difficult too because especially on Oahu, a lot of the native Hawaiians have been pushed out because of the cost of living, and there's issues, certainly. But they're very strong people, and they're very resilient, and they find a way.
Mm.
Um, One culture I thought of that kind of resonated with the Philippines was Nepal,
Mm.
where, we went to the villages and they just had an earthquake 2 years before that. And like the road was demolished and some of the homes were destroyed. And we met a family that their home was destroyed. They had two kids and they were like the happiest family that I'd met on that trip. They were just smiling ear to ear and they were like just wanted to be around us and hang out. And they were standing on, I think I told the story in a previous talk we did, but they were literally standing on the rubble of their house and just like we took pictures with them and they were just happy as it could be. And they're offering us like, can we get you some,
Wow.
yeah, can we get you a drink? Can we get you something to eat? And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So I think because of my travels, it's instead of like being disappointed with the culture of America, it's actually taken my focus and been like, these cultures are incredible and these people are amazing. And look how humans can live. It just showed me like the many ways that we can make it work in different situations.
Mm.
And again, too, it's like there's a big onus right now to be like country proud, especially with the Olympics just happening. Um,
Mm.
like proud of our own country, but it's like we are all, it's funny, this is the first Olympics where I'm watching and I'm like, this is really silly. Like carrying a
Really?
flag and like I get it, I get what's behind it, but it's becoming more and more silly because, and I hope other people feel this, like we're getting an awareness of that we are all together, and whether we're fighting something or not, like we ultimately we need to help each other along this way.
Mm.
We can't keep,
Gotcha.
yeah. So like, the old Olympics was like a battle. It was a representation of the many wars and different opinions of how to live life. And I think gratefully because of the internet and the ability to communicate and speak like this, it's like it's enabled such a change, and I'm happy to see it continue and expand and grow. Like, so a lot of these countries that didn't have the connection and the awareness, are getting it now. And maybe in the future, Filipinos will complain.
Aha.
Who knows?
Uh, who knows? But you're right. It's like almost like it gives you a different type of awareness. Yes, it's a competition, but it's actually the spirit of it now. And I haven't watched it, but it feels like everybody's talking about it. But it feels like the spirit is more. It's not the war zone anymore. It's actually multicultural.
Yeah.
And as the global movements are enabled for everybody almost to move, like majority of the countries to move and explore different cultures, you become multicultural. And as you see different cultures, you start to appreciate their energies and what they bring to the
Yeah.
earth in general, and how much of a contribution they are actually gifting to everybody. Like what we are moving, um, like how if we were just to exit the body and the individuation of ourselves and our ego and who are we trying to be in life and what we're trying to accomplish, rather than wait, but we're living in the overall frequency together. Like everybody is going through the shower meteor right now, for example. Everybody is going through the stages of 2024. Everybody is being impacted, but the overall frequency that we are gifting back by our contributions. And as cultures like that, it almost feels like a like a power bomb that can just be gifted to the frequency. And if the entire culture is proud and you have a culture who doesn't complain, and then you have a culture who is innovative, we're all contributing. And to me, it's so, so powerful that our work is seen, not seen, but it's felt. So, regardless of the differences in the world, we're now able to come from a totally different parts of the planet, you and I specifically, different culture, different people, different individuals, differently raised, and actually meet halfway and see each other for the essence of ourselves, not where are you from and what school did you attend, and right. So to me, that's so, so beautiful. So I
Mm.
hope the Olympics really just bring not that competition that we're better than you and superior or inferior or more impacted, but rather than a white flag of hey, shaking hands, that was a good game or a good experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that the conceptually it lasts, when did it originate? Like back in 20s, 1926 or something, like long time ago, right?
Well, yeah, it originated in Greece. So it was like, I
But
think
isn't it over
before,
100 years?
yeah, it's like a few thousand years.
Olympics?
Or am I thinking of marathon or Olympics? Maybe I'm thinking of just the marathon.
2000 years. Well, you kind of went way far.
I'd have
But
to look up.
yeah, we don't know everything. But the fact that it actually lasted throughout and it's sustained, it's like power that it holds. It almost feels like a program that is gifted to the humanity for us to actually come together and not kill each other for the matter of fact, actually play together.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah. And there's layers to it, and it's interesting because, like, do I even want to say layers? What am I thinking of? It's almost like if you have a lens or a perspective, it's like a veil's been pulled in front of your eyes. Because recently I had a friend over and he said, yeah, people don't even realize, like, he had the veil of like anger and frustration, that the Olympics is like a mind control activity meant to it's an old pagan ritual that's been put there to control people and keep them engaged in sport and distracted and whatever. And I'm like, it's a perspective. It's like a layer, but also like you have a beautiful perspective. It's a gift, and how
Mm.
can we see the good in it? How can we connect as a humanity out of it and build the awareness of cultures and like the beauty of life itself and how it's manifested in so many different ways and propagated, and we get to experience a little bit of that culture and see it in people and how they participate in sport, just as an example. It's like a really beautiful thing. And it's, if you can pay attention to the nuance of like when you're in a state that is like harmonious, you might have a closer perspective to what you gave. And when you're in a state of fear, frustration, or anger, how you view everything with rose colored, like, you view everything like an angry bull, like, where's the red? I'm gonna find it. And it goes back to judgment, the shadow too, of
Mm.
like when we're stuck in these states of emotion that are low frequency naturally, whether it's lust, fear, anger, grief. They're really low vibrational states. They don't resonate quickly. They're very low and they don't attract states that are higher. So often when we're in those states, we don't experience the happiness, the bliss, the joy, the relief, the peace.
Mm. A million questions. So, okay, so let me ask you this. How do you differentiate which state you're in based on the sensations, based on the feeling in the body, based on what feels so heavy versus so light?
Yeah, if you have the time to pay attention, those are all good things. But often, like, we're not often there by choice. Like,
Ooh.
I'm not walking around angry being like, this is how I want to be right now. It's usually like I'm reactive or repressing something, like I'm not allowing an emotion to come up that needs to, and I'm just trying to survive, or I don't feel like I have the time to work through it, or things aren't working out, so I'm going to take control now and fuck you if you're in my way. It's just like you propagate it and then you justify it and then you're in that state in a sense. Often what happens with me is I have to have feedback from my environment, from the people in my life. Like if Carly looks at me like, I'm like, yeah, just give me a minute. Like you
Just got
need,
lost in a shadow in the pits of
yeah,
hell right now. Hold on a
yeah.
second.
Um, yeah, that's when I find it, is when people give me the reflection.
Mm. I look at it as, ooh, I just contracted. Ooh. And I almost feel like grip. And it's like this claws are just like grabbing my soul and choking it. Like, example, attachment does this for me a lot. Like if I attach to something
Yeah,
unconsciously, totally not even knowing, and then that thing is gone, I'm like contracting,
yeah,
fear, fight, protection, and I'm like instantaneously I have this fear that permeates through my bones, and I know that I'm about to hit the pits of hell down, right? So it's like I'm aware of it. The moment I attach or the moment I contract, that means that I attach to something or identified with something. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can't catch it all the time. I catch it with partnerships, or meaning like with connections, the deeper, intimate, vulnerable connections with others. So I catch it there lately a lot when I'm like, but you didn't look at me. You're not paying attention to me, right? So it's like, how dare you say this to me? You're hurting me right now, for example. Those are all the attachments and reactions to something that I expect. But often when I let go of that, which is really hard to do, by the way, no, nobody's perfect. I don't even know, can someone master this to do it in a split second? You have to kind of pull back and use the tools. You use meditations, you use reflections from your life, right? Someone has to tell you, I take shower, I sleep, literally. I'm like, oh my God, I'm operating under the total density and density and like of so much depth down. It almost feels really heavy. I need to rest. And
Yeah.
often when I rest, it just exits, it cleans itself, and I wake up totally rejuvenated. I was like, what the fuck just happened? This void came from, huh? But making the decisions out of it, it's like almost gonna fire you back and eat you alive. So I'm like, I know exactly what not to say, because everything I say is gonna fucking burn the city down. And it's like, no. But it's a totally being just aware and recognizing, is it contracting or is it expanding energy? And if it's expanding, then you feel safe enough to actually also be vulnerable, but also tap into unknown territories and tease yourself or dare. Like there's this like, um, what's it called? Like when kid wants to take off and just like explore, but wants to come back to you just to make sure you're there and it's safe, and then he goes out again and explores in
Mhm.
the woods and come back and be like, okay, I'm still alive, this is good, off I go a little further. So it's almost like leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back, and that is what actually expands. That's how he feels. But anyway,
Yeah.
this is what happens when we don't talk for 3 weeks. We just, yeah. Okay,
It's all good.
now we move to integrity.
Integrity. Hmm.
Well, maybe integrity as a parent. I think this would be a good, maybe good. Um, I don't know. What is integrity for you?
Hmm.
This is a strange concept for me because I don't use this word. I don't have a definition. I just know what others told me that integrity is in relationships. But what does it mean to you?
Yeah, without reading the text, integrity means you do what you say and you stand by your word in a way. So you don't give empty promises, you don't make plans and not follow through. Like that's what I think of when I think of integrity. Without considering the gene key here.
Mm. To me, it almost feels like I'm true to myself.
Yeah, and that's a deeper awareness that you have, right? That would take me a while to get there. If
Mm.
you're true to yourself, you wouldn't make plans that you wouldn't follow through on. Like you wouldn't do the thing that would get you in trouble in the future.
Perfect example. In the last 2 weeks, I swear, every plan that I made, and I said, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go to the pool, I'm going to make a contact, I'm going to send this email, I'm going to update this. I said I will, and I did not.
Yeah.
And to me, integrity is the moment I realize I don't want to go to the beach.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like I said it, I will. I actually committed to go and I promised I will see you. And I was like, wait a minute. I really don't feel like going. Why would I go? Why would I? That's integrity to me. To
Yeah, yeah.
evaluate yourself in that moment and actually do what it feels right for you.
That's a
You
great
will
point.
hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny how my initial perspective on it was like pretty off base when this, like what you gave is actual integrity. It's like having the ability to speak your truth in the moment, even if you made plans beforehand, or even if,
last week. Last week cancellation. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. And then I was like, oh my God, I would look like shit and I would talk shit if I go. So I want to cancel. So to you, I was out of my integrity. To me, I was in full integrity.
yeah, no, you weren't out of it. I was actually going to text you and say thank you for, like, this is the thought that came. I'm like, I should text her and say thank you for being true to yourself and knowing, kind of like thank you for like not allowing yourself to show up that way. But my second thought was, she already knows I think that. It was like we already kind of like get it.
Super good point. So do you think, how do we create safe spaces like this that we can freely operate out of integrity without being afraid that we will be scolded, judged by the other?
It kind of feels like, is it a leap of faith? Like you just have to try it, and if the other person isn't on board, then it's like, okay, it didn't work out. On to the next, right? Isn't that kind of what it is?
Is it? I don't know. I mean, we are coming up with the new now, but I do feel safe with you. And I don't know how we created this. I
Yeah.
do feel safe to say, hey, everything that comes out of my mind will not be true to me because I'm totally unaligned and dysregulated totally. And I know you will hold it and you will be like, I honor, I respect.
Yeah, I think it's just like you put yourself out there and I was cool with it. And then you're like, okay, good to go. And same thing for me. Like, I had some days that were not great and you held it up for me and I was like, this is awesome.
But question, do you think it is because we're not attached to each other by any mean, nor we identify ourselves with any of this?
Yeah,
There's no attachment to it.
it definitely helps. Like
That may be the key.
if we were like coworkers or I don't know, it'd have to be something more.
Dependable.
Yeah.
If this was making us money or if this was a
Yeah.
business and it really needed, we'd be like, maybe that's the key. Detach.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Interesting, like integrity and attachment. We found ourselves relating the two
In what way?
in the way you just described. Like
Uh,
integrity is related to safety in a sense, because say we were doing this as a business, would you have canceled last week? Probably not.
oh,
And then do you feel in a very subtle way less safe to express yourself in each moment as fully as you do?
right now, because I was in integrity last week, I feel more safe.
Right. But if you showed up and you're like, I have to show up, I'm doing this thing. No, I can't do, like you're canceling with other people, or you're doing this thing. You're feeling tired the next day because you showed up anyway. And then when you come back on the podcast the following week, your energy is different because you're like, this is an obligation, or Eric depends on me to be here, and business attachment.
But isn't that a pure karma in making? Layers, let's say, layers of, oh my God, I don't feel safe. I have to pull back. And automatically we create these layers of identity that now these parts of us have to stand up and just be fake to literally compensate for what we just repressed.
Yeah.
And as I'm compensating, I'm just creating this persona of me that now interacts with you, which breaks the bondage between me and you immediately.
Oh,
We're so smart.
it's
We're
this is
like,
this is wild. I'm getting like, give me a minute. had like,
Curious.
I don't know, weird energy flushing through. Um,
Is it hot?
persona,
Is it hot energy, by the way?
my what?
Is it hot energy? The fiery energy?
Yeah.
I had it too throughout the call. It's like we're fucking
I had
getting
it from the
hot
beginning,
today.
my ears. I'm like, holy crap. I wanted to grab my ears and I'm like, I can't do that because that's self-soothing. I'm like, why do I want to soothe? We were talking about the shadow and I'm like, okay, I recognize it. It wasn't that I wasn't honoring it, I was just recognizing um a unconscious pattern. But the persona is like it's used, I'm trying to think, I think persona is Greek and it's used to like describe like the play, meaning the performance.
Mm.
And the way you just talked about the obligations and the attachments that we have, I don't know how many things or how many relationships we have that are pure in that way.
Well, aren't majority of marriages like that?
What isn't like that?
But isn't marriage as a concept created for full dependency and codependency? Meaning, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not married. I am no one. I'm very biased about it. So it's like I don't really know what to think of it. But rather than, but if I'm living with you and sharing everything of me, and you become my friend, my sister, my mother, my father, and everything else, institutional and bank, and procreating, the mother goddess who births me the kids. I'm so attached to all of this.
Hmm.
And as the attachment, I codepend on survival of all these that I am attached to. I don't know. That's a subject to talk. Maybe we'll touch on the jinky, but
Well,
it's
it's
almost like,
it's it is related. Yeah, go ahead.
there you go. I'll say one thing too. It's almost like if sexually related, based on my what I'm going through right now and books I'm reading, it's like very relevant. If you're aiming for orgasm,
Yeah.
pleasure is almost eliminated immediately because it's not the orgasm that is a measure of we're getting somewhere, right? Because you attach yourself to that outcome. It's the journey. And in journey, the everyday is different. Everything is different. So if we just eliminate the attach, what the end of it, something, or till death to do us apart, like forever relationship, that's what we attach to. We attach to the outcome or expectation to get to that space. And if this is perfect example, there's no expectation of any of this. 8 months later, we have no end goal for this. We're just doing it. We're
Yeah.
literally just journeying it. And with it, we don't really identify with it and there's no attachment to it. So it flows. And it's safe to be, it's even safe to cancel it tomorrow.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's not safe to get divorced tomorrow.
Well, right.
Such a
It's
broad subject.
yeah, there's a catch 22 showing up because I'm tempted to say, okay, then my goal in my relationship with Carly, my wife, is to detach and allow. Um,
Mm.
but the catch 22 is the reality is if she came, I don't know, maybe it's possible at some point that we could detach enough where she could say to me, I want to get divorced, and I don't react immediately with fear. Um,
Mm.
but wouldn't that make the relationship better? Isn't
Mm.
this better than the alternative? So it's like how it's the catch 22 is like, okay, let me aim for detachment. And in the aiming, it's much like, okay, I want to get to orgasm. It's much like meditation. Like I want to get to the state of enlightenment, the state of peace and bliss and unattachment to the self. And it's like in that desiring of the desireless state, you found yourself once again still standing in the same place, not actually removed from anything, just
But
wearing
okay.
a different persona.
Well, let me ask you this. When you enter meditation, where are you headed? Where are you going? Do you know where
Nowhere.
you're going? So there's no end. There's no end to it. You're just entering. You're
Yeah,
literally just entering into the space and you're open to receive whatever that comes in, whatever time that there is. But
right.
eventually, you'll exit. Eventually, if you don't receive anything because you're like, I want to get enlightened. I want to get enlightened. It's like almost like a target. There's no target. This doesn't exist.
Yeah.
This state doesn't exist. We create it. The same as forever doesn't exist. We create it. Forever doesn't exist. We die. There's no forever. So like we attach. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I just need to calm this energy out. Hold on. When we live together, we create the physicality and attach the physical needs of survival of this body, the sleep, the food, the procreation, the sex, the material, the schooling, the education. Everything turns out to be supportive of the family, the supportive of the structure. This is the physical attachment. So the physical is like, okay, of course, you have to be here for kids. You have to give this space and create first three phases. You have to give them something that it's consistent, sustained, that so they have sense that they can come back to and have a base that they can just then go from. But detachment is, we're not talking about the physical detachment. So meaning if you and I had a business here, this will be the physical that we were attached to. It will be tangible. We will depend on it. What I'm talking about is that because we don't have the physicality to hold on to, we're able now to create and actually detach from a higher level of, we don't even know what this is all for, but there is a higher level of outcome that we're not even aware that someone somewhere may cry when they hear, which by the way, it happened. I told you the feedback on it. Somebody listened to one of our little snippets of it and received the message that was profoundly shifting the path, the life path. So the goal was never to do this for others. The goal was to actually open ourselves up so that way we can be together in this level and creation, the level of creation. So you're asking, how can you detach from Carly when your goal is to create the safety for the family that you created, for the nuclear family that you created, you designed? But it's almost like, are you really meaning that you want to detach from the physical, or are you meaning you actually need to create something totally non-tangible and connect on that level where the physicality doesn't really matter? When tomorrow, just a silly example, if she comes, hey, Eric, I need to leave and I need to pursue this path. I want to go to monastery and be like for 3 years there, right? And I have this calling, that the level of love that you're gifting her and connecting with her is totally differently elevated, rather than, oh my God, what I'm going to do as a father, I'm going to be alone, I'm going to run all the show here. It's like that detachment versus this detachment gives, do you know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think we can't create in a typical structured institutional marriage such detachments unless you don't, because you have a lot of things to do as a parent, right? So you have to hold the structure for your children. Easy for me to say, but I don't know.
Yeah. You spoke so much truth. Um, I think of 55, Jinky 55, freedom. And it's such an interesting Jinky to have as the top of my profile as like life path because it comes up so much, and it's like this element of what does it mean to be free? It's like that question constantly comes up. Are you sure it doesn't mean this? Are you sure it doesn't mean this? Should you try it this way? What is, and then the victimhood too. Like, are you trapped in this? Are you trapped in your marriage? Are you trapped by your kids? Are you trapped by Hawaii? Are you trapped by your apartment? Are you trapped, like, whatever we come up with?
Hmm.
It's almost like just by framing it with the right question, we can put ourselves in the state that is more free or more attached, more victimized
Mhm.
by just by asking the right question. So it's kind of like what you helped me do there, in relationship, is just view it like it's not so much about the daily needs, the physiological aspects of your relationship. It's about the intention behind your love, or the ability to love and let go to a piece of it that you thought was necessary, but might actually be holding you or the other person back in some way. So it's just like, again, that's moving toward freedom. You're allowing it to be and evolve into something else that you don't have control over.
Yeah, evolve into you. And you almost like, but what makes it, yeah. And that new does not exist to this point. That new takes daring, to dare to try a lot of trials. Like, are you open to try this? Are you open for us to explore? Are you open for us to experiment? Like, test it, see how do we feel? Is it scary? If so, what is scary? Like, where is the fear coming from?
Right.
It's like almost like, dude, like if you want to try something outside the nuclear family, it's like you really have to have a higher way of contribution, understanding of your contribution, rather
Hmm.
than this is all for something much bigger than us. And to get there together, it's like it's so powerful. And I think it's powerful than any marriage. It's like it's almost like sacred in its own evolution, like sacred initiation of two souls fusing on a much higher level of love that has
Hmm.
nothing to do with paying bills and keeping, I don't know, keeping safety. I mean,
Yeah.
or of, like, do we have enough money for children to go to college, stuff like that. But this is 55. And dude, I did not know that you have 22nd too. I just saw it today and I was like, this guy,
I know.
yeah, are you for real?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can't wait to get to it because I didn't even read the 22nd. I just like keep like, I know it's the beginning and the end of both that were both combined. So it's like, wow, you have a lot of work here to do.
Yeah.
It's like a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's funny when found Gene Keys, um, and I read 55, I'm like, this is amazing. And then I read 22 as it was part of my profile, and I'm like, this is weird. And I'm like, and then I kept reading my profile, and I'm like, this is weird. When do you remember when you first did the profile and you worked through it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Did you have that same thing where it was like you get to a point when you're like, I can't not pay attention to Gene Keys, even if I wanted to, because it hit home
Yeah.
so profoundly.
Yeah. To this day, actually does it. I read it weekly, daily. I just open it. And I was like, oh my God, this is the
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah, except
Yeah.
for 18, put you to sleep.
Hey. Okay, so I know we're running out of, but I just want to ask you one thing. related to this.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, it's related to the gift, but it just flew into my mind as a oh, so to discover this novelty of yourself, or let's say in the concept of marriage or togetherness or relationships or concept of parenthood, right? So you being a parent, or concept of detachment or a non-attached time for creation. Do you think the truth gifted to the space that you're sharing with someone, your wife, your children, your friend, me, has potential for that quality evolution only if you operate out of your integrity? Meaning, let me rephrase it. Does my integrity have to meet your integrity? Operating from the heart. It has to be truthful for evolution and creation of novelty to happen, of new you.
I don't know. I feel like I could play either way, yes and no.
So if I come full ego and I'm not, just because we have a business, for example, do you think this will be truthful and it will actually continue evolving? Or do you think the only evolution of some togetherness, some neutral field that happens only
Yeah.
happens if we operate out of integrity?
Yeah, well, it's like for you, so the reason why I could say either one is I think integrity is a little bit contagious. So if
Mm,
you show up very vulnerably to somebody, they are either inclined to, I don't feel safe, I'm going to withdraw further because you're showing me too much. Or it'll be like, wow, that was beautiful that you were able to open up that way. Maybe next time I can open up too. Like if you stuck with it, I think it would contagiously kind of spread. But
mm.
to just answer your question directly, yeah, I think it takes both showing up in integrity.
Got it. Because it evolves. Only then it almost feels like only then it evolves to something new.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Should we jump to city?
Yoo-hoo. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. CD is perfection. Oof.
Perfection. I like to I like to find the paradox and start with that. I think it's a good place to start. Um, Living in a state of perfection entails the death of the mind, and as such, perfection is an ending. When you realize perfection, evolution ends.
Mm,
But it's also, he talks about the bodhisattva vow, which the bodhisattva is a being who forgoes his or her highest state of consciousness in order to stay in the world and help others attain that state.
mm.
Our genes are all bodhisattvas programmed to serve the whole until it has attained perfection. Wow. Now that last sentence is wild.
But what is the perfection
An ending.
of what?
Hmm. It's like an ending of concepts. Took me a minute to find that one.
That's how I understood it too.
Yeah.
People run away from perfection here. program means, oh, I don't want to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. Hear it all the time. It's like, I suffer from perfectionism. It's like, right? I'm recovering perfectionist. It's like those are very, very common definitions of what is the perfection. And we think of it as like, as you know, in astrology, this is Virgo, meaning everything has to have color coded in the closet, everything has to be so perfectly aligned to five senses. This is not five sensical at all whatsoever. It is the moment you let go of all these stories, all these concepts that you identify. It's self-identification with anything, is that you reach the state of perfection, which is end of all little mini boxed embodied experience of being human. And it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
Because it's like, at that point, there's nothing else to say or think.
Just breathe. Breathe. And when you breathe, you connect with your heart. It's like,
And you let it be. He mentions here is by holding this high thought frequency around that person who embodies the CD, they actually influence hidden currents of energy that rise the frequency of the other being. This is called Siddhic thinking, and it involves thinking with the heart. And it's not human heart that we're talking about. I often just do this, but it really has nothing to do with the human organ. I would love to experience this.
acidic thinking.
Thinking from the heart.
Yeah.
I would like to conceptualize it in this human life until I'm here to feel what this feels like, if possible. But isn't this close to knowing?
How do you mean?
When you just know something and you don't question it. You knew you want to
Yeah.
move to Hawaii, no question.
Yeah. Well, is that knowing? It's not like the typical word knowing. It's like a higher knowing.
Mm.
You know, like Gnostic
Mm.
knowledge, the
Mm-hmm.
GNO. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's like comes from some other place. This knowing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the perfection lies. Um, the ability to see, like, did he say evil? Did he say the word evil?
Mm-mm.
In that,
No.
yeah, right here. So just before you read, someone demonstrating in the 18th city is above the victim mind when they look at someone, even someone who appears genuinely evil, they only see the higher self hidden in that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, man, easy to say, hard to do if it's right in front of you.
Wow, good news. We're headed there.
Yeah.
So the codon ring of matter ensures that the whole of humanity, must one day reach a state of perfection where evolution ends and we as species finally enter the dimension of eternity. And I just wrote, wow, I can't wait. There's a hope.
The the thing that has me speechless with this is we spent so much time talking about evolution, especially as it pertains to relationship, like how this talk evolves when we're more in integrity and how it moves from a thing of like two people doing one person doing one thing, another person doing the other thing, and they're relating somehow to like a new thing being created.
Mm.
In a sense, like talking about it as an evolution. And then there is a state that is an end of evolution, and that is perfection. And
But
it's, yeah,
is it the end that is bothering you? The word end, the concept of it being just done and gone.
am I bothered? Hmm. If I'm being honest, I think what bothers me is getting to city and having nothing to say. From the standpoint of like I'm still in the state of there's a microphone in front of me. Someone's going to be listening to this. I don't know who, I don't know. I don't know when, but I have nothing to say. Or does this invalidate the 2 hours we just spent talking, quote unquote nonsense?
But we're talking in 2024. If we were maybe to revisit 2034, 10 years from now, we might be able to actually relate to it more. Because we really, out of 2 hours, we spend 1 hour speaking on shadows, 40 minutes on gift, and then we're tumbling through cities. Almost like in awe, like there's nothing we can say about it.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Or perhaps in 2034, we'll have nothing to say altogether.
We
We'll be
shall
like,
see.
I know this game.
I hope we do this long, actually.
That would be really cool.
That would be fucking awesome. We both are gray hair, your beard is white. Your kids are like out and about. Wow. I'm maybe married 5 times and divorced 5 times. Breaking the rules. I think I feel like the CDs really just need to be read
Yeah.
and felt,
Yeah.
and because they're not um, food for thoughts, almost like they're food for feelings and feeling the sensations in the body and energy just permeating through the body and just like, yeah, because they leave us speechless often.
Mhm. Yeah, I just want to maybe just close with the same paradox, but this is like he states this in a more personal way.
Mm.
Um, this city is not often seen in the world today. It involves the incarnation of an archetype of perfection. Such people who embody the city are tireless in the service they give to humanity. Paradoxically, they know through personal spiritual experience that the world is perfect exactly as it is. There is nothing about the world that need to be improved. Yet they are driven by this archetype of perfection to keep tirelessly improving both themselves and the world until the day they die. And I think that that is kind of the rub, is it's not like the end, like you said. It's not like an end where you're like, I'm permanently meditating and not moving anything. I mean, maybe if someone feels that that's moving the world forward. But these are people I think that are like have everyday jobs, especially like, service. jobs like nurses or doctors or something. Um, yeah, just a really interesting. I almost want to like take an archetype of this, and he calls them saints, and really kind of contemplate more deeply about that person and just allow like that energy to kind of a little bit of it to seep into my pores.
Mm. Mm. I have one thought that just came as we were talking about these are rare, like not that we don't really know of any that are currently showing this way of living in the city state or sainty way where, like you said, that they often have um, basic roles and they take the service for others, or I don't know, maybe why Mother Teresa came to my mind. It's like
Yeah.
that type of thinking, but maybe not. But what I connected this with, we live in the society and in the world where the childhood, like being a parent who is not, who's also trying to figure themselves out, is making it hard to really like have such a child to gift such a childhood to their children for them to actually elevate to this state. Meaning, is that these kids often may be going through a lot of these like cycles of trials and errors and trying to rediscover themselves in order to know what happened and correct what happened in their own childhood to reach the states like this. So I know a person who has 18th, and I'm like, when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I can actually see the stuckness in the shadow. And rather than them operating on the CD level, they're still trying to figure out the shadow and to get to the gift. So the CD almost feels like it will take time to bring the whole of humanity. But maybe the hope is in the genetic coding and the annihilation of the shadows that don't serve us any longer, because at some point we just have to reset of the ones that don't serve us, that we can't ever correct. We don't need to correct any longer, and really looking towards creating new ones, paradoxically, might be the way to reach the CD levels in general, rather than actually going back to excavating all these things that happen in the. I'm very much dual right now in what I'm talking and paradoxical and going back and forth with it, but I'm thinking out loud, like, how do you get to this CD in general? How do you feel someone as a saint when you are operating still on the shadow level? I am
Hmm.
often.
Interesting.
Is it even
I,
possible now?
yeah, interesting. I
Mm.
want to take that question and I have an idea, and maybe this won't end up as anything, but I told you that I have a friend that I wanted to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe instead of doing like a whole new gene key with a guest,
Uh-huh.
I actually view her as a saint. I think she is in this city. And so it'd be interesting just to like, you know, kind of tease out, like you said, like what is it that helped you get there? And I wonder like what would her response be even by kind of like us assuming, or positioning it that way.
I love it. When is she coming?
Well, she said let me know ahead of time and she'll make herself available. She's on East Coast time, so we might have to like arrange something. But
Earlier?
actually she works night shift, so she's probably up anyway.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, totally. I think that would be really cool. I almost feel like she's not gonna even know how she got there. But everything. If she's operating out of city, she's like, I don't know what the fuck. I don't know how I got there, but I'm curious just to see, does she know
You're-
the route?
Yeah, that
Like
I'm curious too, because often like when I ask her questions in that way, that's kind of her response. She's like, I don't
I love it.
know. Hmm. It'll be
Cool,
an
man.
experiment for us. Yeah, thank you for your time.
2 hours. Mm, mm.
It kind of felt like this like rocket ship and now
We're going down.
landing. Yeah. Like I want
Feels
to
good.
ground. I just want to lay on the ground for a minute.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out and walk for a second.
Mhm.
Thank you for your time, as usual.
Yeah.
We shall continue. Bye. Love you, man.
Bye. Love you.
Ciao, ciao. First, I have to stop recording.